Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric, and I'm here with Chris Taylor from formerly Financial Fitness, now Financial Prepper, if I'm not mistaken.
That's it.
So thanks for joining me today. He's one of the first people to shout me out on YouTube. I got my channel started, so I really appreciate that. And
Absolutely, man. That is, I just want to stop you right there.
yeah, sure.
That is like the most important thing is to get other people, so many people resonate with different people. It's like a lot of people think, well, I don't have anything to say. You know something that other people need to know, even if it's just a few things or something special, one little niche that's not being covered. You might be the authority on that. So yeah, I was happy to do it, man.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think also people hear the same information. If it's said in a different way, they hear it, and it finally clicks with them, especially if you have a different background. If you're a financial suit and tie on CNBC, a lot of people are like, it's hard to relate. So regular people talking finances, I think is good. So I really appreciate you shouting me out. And I wanted to chat with you and get to know you. I don't know him super well, but we met in Denver. He's part of Ninja Nation, people trying to awaken the asleep people, whether they be lions or sheep, hopefully lions, wake them up. But I was wondering, to start, what was your aha moment? What got you from just normal everyday dude, 9 to 5, to, hey, something's not right in the United States when it comes to the fiat
Well,
system?
I woke up through investing. When I woke up probably, I don't know, 8 years ago or seven. I really started like, hey, we got to do something. Something's up. And started getting rental properties, started realizing you can never save enough money for retirement. You've got to have assets that pay you to own them. And as you go down that rabbit hole and learn about how the wealthy, get there, how did they get there? It's all you have to do is exactly what they did. Maybe not exactly, but, so when you figure that out, it's like, well, most of them did it through rental properties. I guess I'll try that.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to do that. And man, we were socking them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got the sixth one. And things started, housing prices were creeping up, and the numbers were starting to not work. And then somewhere along the way, you start to realize, okay, I'm starting to accumulate wealth. What else are these wealthy people doing? And I'd always known about gold and silver. I always had a little bit of my wealth in gold and silver. But when you start learning about inflation and, the death of the dollar, what fiat currencies did before, it's all happening over again. It's all, this play has been done several times over. You can go all the way back to Rome, and it's, it's crazy how identical it is in some ways. When, in Rome, they were arguing if the angels were male or female as it was collapsing, and that's a lot of what's going on now. So I guess I started off financially trying to better myself and learn from the wealthy. And as I was learning from the wealthy, you start to have to pay attention to what the wealthy are doing. And then you ask yourself, why are the wealthy doing these things? And it kind of pointed to all the other things. And then when you notice that, it's like, crap, I got to get ready. I got to get prepared for this, crap's hitting the fan situation. And as you do this, I started to go to different functions, Rebel Capitalist Live, Mark Moss's stuff. And that's actually where I ran into the Economic Ninja. And we had everything in common just about. And he said, you should start a YouTube channel. I was like, man, I don't know about all that, because I wasn't on Facebook. I really had no business starting a YouTube channel. But I really wanted to help. And I thought the best way I could help was through fitness, because that really changed my life. I would do fitness because I was getting way out of shape and just standard American diet. And it my health was degrading. I had back trouble, hip trouble. So I started getting in shape, and I'm the type of person that I'm going this way. I'm going to get in shape and go this way and do it all the way. And I got completely shredded. And when you put that behind you, like, man, I can do anything. I can do that, and I can help others do that. So that's why I started financial fitness. I thought I could get into the financial side while I was getting people in shape, which is a complete disaster. People that are into finances don't give a crap about fitness, and vice versa. But that was my heart was in the right place, but it just didn't really, it was two completely different niches. But that's me in a nutshell. That's how I got here.
So you're now personally, it seems like fitness is a big deal to you. Do you think that it correlates at all with investing, like discipline or other life skills, where you think a lot of people say discipline in one area leads to another. Do you think one came before the other, or do you think they relate at all?
I think that everything, you can relate fitness back to every single thing, even being a Christian, even everything, investing. Discipline is how you get things done. Period. If you have no discipline, you're not going to be able to do anything. And for me to quit ice cream was like, I was addicted, man. I was just doing these things because it made me feel good. And I was able to cut all that crap out. And if I can do that, I can do any, because it's hard. It was so hard. It was so hard to do it at one time. And then it's just like anything else. Once you do it for a while, you start to learn little tricks, and it gets easier. But yeah, it has everything to do with everything. You can relate everything back to fitness just about.
Yeah, mental clarity for sure. I found that I've had my times where I lay off the working out, and you just feel not as clear. Your thinking's not as sharp, and your focus is off. So I agree with you on that. So you mentioned Christianity in your faith. I'm a Christian as well. How does your message with financial prepper and the things you're warning people about, what worldview filter are you filtering that through, and why do you think it's important, or do you think it's important in your faith? Is that integrated at all in what you're talking about on your YouTube channel?
I was thinking about that today. It has, and I don't talk about it much. You try to wake up the masses without preaching at them nonstop. And I'm not a preacher. That's just the facts. I'm flawed through and through, but all of us are. But I just don't know how we're going to get through it without help.
Yeah.
The stuff that's coming is going to be unlike anything anybody's ever seen that's living on the face of the earth. I think the Great Depression is going to be a walk in the park compared to what's coming, just because of the population issue. How many people are going to be starving? There's not going to be one or two, and it's going to be a global thing. And I think we're absolutely going to have God to get through it. And ironically, most believers hold precious metals. The more I've been, we sell for Miles Franklin, and the more we sell it, the more I realize that it's really strange. And my grandfather had him on the other day, and it's really odd. He was collecting gold and silver when it was $1. Silver was $1, a couple of bucks. He's sacks. He has had a bunch of it, and anymore gave it all away. But it's strange how he knew. How did he know? Because we get our wisdom from the Holy Spirit. So how did he know? It's odd how those things work out. And I don't know how to, I doubt, I think about it all the time. I don't know how to preach on YouTube. It's not really what I think I'm called to do, but it's absolutely a part of it. And I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, you did. I think what's interesting, I might have heard it on yours or the Ninjas. I know the Ninjas are Christian as well. You get some grief from Christians that say you're potentially focusing on money too much, or when you talk about money, you're talking about it in a capacity that it almost, they're accusing you of being Ebenezer Scrooge almost, it seems like. And my theory on money is it's all about your attitude, number one. But money is just a thing. It's a weight and measure. It's a ledger. Um, and so what I'm trying to do in my argument to these people is a lot of people don't even know what money is and what the rules are. And so when we talk about these issues in the world, it's not because we want all the money in the world to hoard to ourselves. It's that we're trying to warn people of rules they probably aren't even aware of, and how it's inflated and how it's made up. And a lot of people don't even pay attention to it. I had somebody in my church the other day talk about how our dollar's backed by gold, and they're an older person. And and so,
Did you get up
yeah,
and preach?
no, I mean, I was trying to be polite, but I was like, no, not so much, not for a long time. So what's your thought on that? If somebody were to tell you, a Christian comes on your YouTube channel in the comment section is saying you're focused too much on money and
Oh
you
yeah,
focus on,
man, it happens all the time,
yeah,
every day.
sure,
So your money is not going to help. You're going to throw your gold and silver in the streets, which that's completely misconstrued. Uh, Here's the deal: God put this in the earth for us to use as money. It is antimicrobial. It's That's what they traded back then. It was backed by being what it is. We didn't know fiat currencies didn't work because evil man printed them into oblivion. So I feel like God put this in the earth for us to use as money, and you could back a currency with it if people weren't so, evil and had other things going. But to think, a lot of people, I hear this too. Christians just need to give all their money away. You know, they're supposed to be poor and all this weird. I don't think that way at all.
mm-hmm.
If you could take it back and say the government, our big monster government, Big Brother, has no business telling us what to do. Well, who's going to take care of everybody? That is the church's problem. If everybody would tithe to the church and the church was the way it's supposed to be in the Bible, that's who takes care of the poor.
Agreed.
And, it goes from there, but you get so far away from it and we get taxed by the point of a gun from our government. And then they pick and choose who wins and who loses. And here we are. We're looking at hyperinflation in the face, and people in the comments that make these stupid. I'm serious. These are dumb. If you ever put a comment on my channel that says you can't eat gold and silver,
Yeah.
you are not thinking properly. I'm
Yeah.
serious. I'm so tired of hearing that. That is my least favorite comment because nobody's trying to eat it. Yeah. What do you think happened in Rome? What do you think happened through all these hundreds, thousands of years? What do we use for currency? It's like, well, anything of value. What's a value? Things that can't be printed. I don't know why that is. I really don't get that. Other than it's possible that those people don't have enough money to invest anyway. They're compulsive spenders, so it makes them feel better about themselves to just say, "Oh, well, you're just not a very good Christian. You're going to throw it in the It's not worth anything." Other than that, I don't know why people make those kind of statements. It's really strange. I think it would be a disservice to somebody to not tell them about what real money is.
Yeah, I think a lot of those people carry cash. You can't eat that either. So
or stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Exactly. Yeah, I've always said politics. I don't like to talk politics on my channel too much, but a lot of, as George Gavin says, a lot of economic questions are political questions today, because you have the ESG movement, you have all these super stupid governments who are kind of injecting themselves into the economic realm and making it very hard to do business. But I've always said politics comes down to one question: do you think people are sinners or saints? Because if you think they're sinners, you're going to limit their power. If you think they're saints, you'll always try for utopia. You just didn't get the right saint. And if you think they're sinners, you're always going to limit power and limit where one person can inject the thoughts or their ideas. So yeah, I think um, you obviously have a YouTube channel because you have hope for the future. I'm imagining it's not. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there right now. If you pay attention, um, it's bad. But you have hope, right? You have
I'm
obviously
crazy optimistic.
eternal hope. But
I am optimistic. I almost changed my name to the Optimistic Prepper.
really, that's actually kind of counterintuitive, but I like it.
Almost did, but I just these preppers want doom and fear every day,
Hmm.
and a lot of that what I talk about is news. The news is scary,
Hmm.
but I'm very optimistic that yes, we're in the end days. I know, but are you going to be afraid and scared and ball up in a hard knot for the rest of your life? Are you going to live and prep as much as you can without, like I said, balling up in a hard knot and bracing for impact? Because I think we've got one more time. I think the people that are holding precious metals are about to. That's going to come out in the wash. All this fake paper pricing and all that. I think precious metals are going to do something like this, and we're going to be able to navigate this better than anybody thinks. Is what I'm hopeful for. Now, after that, after this next pump up, we very well might be in the tribulation or something nutty. I mean, it might
Hmm.
be for real Thunderdome situation, but we're not there. That could be 10
Yeah,
years from now. That could be 20. We don't know. We don't have
right.
time. And everybody that mentions time is wrong. Look at all of them.
Yeah,
All the people that are saying they know what's going to happen and it's going to be at this date in 13 days. You remember all those videos that are coming
yeah.
out? We're going to have hyperinflation at 4th of July. Nobody's got time.
Yeah.
Just, there's no way for me to see it a different way. That's how I'm feeling anyway.
Well, yeah, and I think in America we've gotten to a point, unfortunately, where somebody who saves some food is looked at as this apocalyptic prepper type person, have a bunker and all that. But that was the way of living forever. And we've always had this just in time grocery store thing. But if hard times come, and I wish people the light bulb would have gone on, there's not enough toilet paper. What happens if this happens with food during COVID? Why not have a little bit of food or months of food? Because as you always say, take from the front, put it in the back, and it often saves you money during times of inflation. So there's kind of a negative. A lot of people when they think prepper, they think underground bunker, nuclear war kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and really, I think America is part of the fiat system is to live hand to mouth, unfortunately. Whether that be self-induced or it's just because you don't make enough money, but people live off of debt. They don't ever prepare for hard times. And you can see that with the economic data with through inflation and credit card debt and all that kind of stuff. So the negativity with prepping, I understand where you're coming from, but a lot of people come at it from this like negative perspective. It's you're asking me to build a bunker in the basement or something, which
Yeah. You can't bash them. They just see things a different way.
sure.
They see it as the worst case scenario, and they're prepping for the worst case scenario. Which go for it. I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to go places that I don't. I went to Puerto Rico, and I had some people. Why aren't you prepping?
Yeah.
Because I've already done that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go see a little bit of, it was on U.S. soil too. It's not like I was in, Colombia or something like that, which I do kind of want to go to, but I'm going to wait, wait till it gets a little more calm. But yeah, the food situation, like you were talking about, that just makes sense. They're cutting off fertilizer. The Dutch country is getting nutty. I mean, it's not just them, it's everywhere. Everywhere. If you Sri Lanka, they can't buy anything. They're suffering from inflation, which is the same thing that is going to happen here one day. Period.
Mm-hmm.
There's no currency that's ever made it. So yeah, I'm a prepper, but I'm just not a fearful one. I just don't.
Yeah.
I can't get into that. And if buying food and putting it in a cupboard and eating off the front and replacing in the back is prepping, then yes, that I am a stone cold prepper. I think you should have a year's worth of food. You'll beat the stock market by buying food. We're
Yep.
going into the Thunderdome, so have food. It's not very. It's weird. People don't get that, but so far I've been right. You're beating the stock market if you bought food. And if you got a share of Google, you can trade it right now for a cow and a freezer and eat all year on it. Stuff like that just makes sense to me, but it doesn't to
Sure.
a lot of people.
Well, I think you're, another word for that is realist. Like there are threats, whether they come to fruition or not. From your and I mine and your perspective, they're coming to fruition regardless. But even if you're trying to convince somebody, I'm always telling them, you're just a realist. If it does happen, you're always prepared, and you don't have to be this nuclear war doomsday scenario person. Just have some extra food. But I think a lot of people are slowly, because America has been pretty good the last 40 years. I'm 36. Um, in my lifetime, I never really thought about, in most people's lifetime, they have never really dealt with inflation unless you were alive during the early 80s and paying bills and all that kind of stuff. And so I do think some Americans are coming to grips with the fact that this may not change. And there's, I think the kind of the news cycle in America is it'll get better. And if anybody ever warned you of something like in 2008, what we got here? Like in 2008, a lot of people were warning we were going to see hyperinflation because of the TARP bailouts and all that, and that never came. So it's kind of a boy who cried wolf a little bit, but now all of a sudden we have inflation and people are coming to grips with the fact that it might not change. And I think those people are slowly waking up. Do you get that experience on your channel that people who have never even thought about this kind of stuff are coming over to your channel and realizing this goes deeper than they ever thought as far as where the inflation is coming from in the fiat system?
The masses are waking up. Yeah, I have first time precious metal buyers every day, just about. And that's when we started selling for Miles Franklin. I'll help them get a one round if they want it. It's just because all it takes is feeling your hand and you're kind of like, oh wow, that feels real. It feels like something.
Yeah, exactly.
And what was the rest of the question?
Basically, are you realizing that a lot of people who have
Oh
never
yeah.
thought about it are thinking about
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, they're waking up every day. I just talked to I don't know if it was a comment or it was somebody somebody reached out to me. I don't remember who it was, maybe an email. No, it was my buddy. I talk to him every morning, Toby. He's a machinist buddy of mine. He said the guy he works with was planning on retiring, and now he cannot because his 401k has gone down so much. And this is one of the many things that is waking people up. When you start jacking on people's retirement, they start to look around.
Mm-hmm.
I've been telling them, hey, you're a millionaire in the stock market. Why don't you hedge just a little bit, just in case something happens? And it's like I'm from another planet and I don't know what I'm talking about. And the stock market always goes up. There's somebody else reached out and said they went to their parents' house and respectfully went through their bills to find out how much they had at the end of the month. They had $200 to buy groceries on after everything else. And that puts me in mind. I'm going to do a video about take care of your older people. You need to, because they're not getting the raise for inflation because they should be. The CPI was right. They'd have to get a raise, but they're not getting it. Everything I buy is double. I don't care what the CPI says. And they're feeling it too. And, there's no way to not wake up. You can dig your head out of the sand now and look around, or you can wait till it just wipes you completely out and then check it out, because you're going to find out either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can learn the hard way or the easy way, I guess. A lot of people like to learn the hard way because I don't want to sound like Chicken Little to people and always tell them the sky is falling. But the wake up call for me was just the math. if you look at what we spend as a country and how that's going parabolic up and to the right with Social Security, we don't have the money. And no politician wants to touch it. And then we have inflation on top of that. And I don't know if you saw the other day, Biden came out and he said speaking of retirements, he's bailing out pensions. And I'm like, oh my goodness. At some point, there's going to be a sentiment switch for people when they realize this dollar isn't worth anything. And that's the scary part to me is because it's not, for me, I look at it that way. I want to get rid of dollars as quickly as possible. A lot of people don't look at it that way yet. When the masses do, gold's going to be way more expensive. Silver's going to be way more expensive.
It's just so hard to pin down because the dollar's getting stronger because everybody runs to the dollar. We've been programmed, hardwired to go to the dollar. Trading,
Sure.
Everybody on earth's the same way.
Sure.
And all the other currencies are crashing before the dollar, so it still looks good. But here's the question I've been running through my head, and I can't really quantify it to shit. What are we going to trade other countries for when our dollar is so strong they're getting ripped off, which they already are? What do we trade them for the goods that come from overseas? That's what I need to know. That's how I try to think through these problems, because it will happen one day, unless we revalue the dollar to gold, or a CBDC will just be more of the same. That's, I don't know why another country would take that. I'm not sure. In my mind, it's gold. You're going to have to back something by, like the digital yuan or something like that. But that's where I'm stuck at right now. What are we going to trade for two other countries that we get everything from? The only thing we export is dollars. Really, I mean, mostly. We export a lot of food, but I'm just wondering. I'm stuck there. I got to figure that out, and I just don't see any other way around it being gold. Something backed by gold, something you can't print.
Well, we'd have to have. I don't know the last time they did a audit of how much gold we have in the United States government owns.
Long time.
But I think just to put into context what he's saying for those who are listening, what Russia's doing right now when they want rubles or gold or Bitcoin for their oil, at some point, the world where we get all of our stuff, we're 70% consumption, at some point, the world's going to be like, we don't want the dollars you're giving us, give us something else. And that something else has to be from our own productivity, not from a printer. And that's going to lower American standard of living, which I don't think a lot of Americans are prepped for. So I'd be interested to hear what you think of, because a lot of people I talk to think that Biden's doing all this bad stuff, which is true, but is somebody else in office with other economic policies going to fix the problem, or are we too far gone? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you mean if like the golden hair man on the white horse comes in?
No, like a fiscally conservative politician who, Republicans.
What can they do?
Exactly. That's my point.
What are they going to do? Lower interest rates?
I know. I know. And that's what I'm trying to warn people. It's not really, Biden's doing a bunch of stuff that's just pouring accelerant on the fire, but the fire's still going to burn as soon as he gets out of office, because we're so deep in the hole when it comes to our payments, our debt payments. I don't know if you saw today, Europe just came out and said they're doing yield curve control. The ECB is going to do it. So they're going to buy as many bonds as they need to keep the rates low. And I think you're going to see that kind of stuff happen in the United States eventually. But all this kind of stuff is a foreign language to people until it hits their pocketbook, in my opinion. The majority of Americans, they go, what the heck is this inflation stuff? And why does it keep going up? And that's when they realize well, it takes some education, but that was kind of my learning curve. That's when you realized it's actually not going down ever. The only thing that they can do is hide it, which they're kind of doing with CPI to some degree.
And there's another thing I think about a lot, and that's when the other countries, let's say other countries start doing deals in rubles or the yuan, or BRICS gets Egypt and Russia and India and all these other people, and they start doing their own reserve currency. They're already talking about it. I just made a video with a clip in there of Putin. He announced it the other day or a while back. They're working on it. It's not going to be overnight. When this happens, the dollars that are overseas is unreal. I mean, they're not just here in America. They're everywhere. Like, it's nuts how many dollars there actually is. When our dollar is starting to crash, the only people that have to take it for payment is the United States. That currency will still buy things here when it won't buy anything anywhere else. When the currency comes from overseas to here to buy real estate and everything else, assets, I think that's when we see the hyperinflation. What do you think about that?
The dollar milkshake theory, kind of what you're referring to.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree with. I guess so.
So I think
it's not what I was talking about. Yeah,
but I think that I'm sorry, I was typing. Zoom was threatening to shut off on me. I think it's going to happen slow and then all at once when it comes to countries going off of the dollar. A lot of them have like 30-year debt with the United States. I don't know how it's going to play out as far as dollars coming back, because my thought has always been they want to go to this digital currency. The Fed has this Fed Now thing that's going to come out next year, supposedly. And a lot of countries, including China, want to go to this digital currency. And the idea, I guess the pro for them is they can control things with a scalpel a lot more than they can with dollars. In other words, they can turn it off and turn it on for certain purchases. Obviously, that's way anti-freedom. But I don't get how people are going to trust that new currency. Just if I'm thinking of the average plebe who doesn't give a crap about anything, if you just say, if you give them free money, they'll take it. But if they don't,
that's how they're going to take it.
Think so?
That's how they're going to. Yes, it will be at gunpoint. You're going to use this.
Really?
You're going to use this currency right here. I think that's what's going to happen.
Even in America.
MMT, yeah, you're going to use this currency because I said so.
And so that means there can't be, if they're willing to do that, that means there can't be another option like gold, silver, or Bitcoin.
Well, right. I'm talking about the government's plan. I'm not talking about what's going to happen. Yeah. That you got to play that out in your head. How you think it's going to come down? That's the only way you can bring value to a currency that you can print out of thin air, is to force everybody to use it because it's worth what I said it's worth. Doesn't matter what it's backed with.
Yeah, and that's thinking through that. I've always been like, you have to go before people lose faith in the dollar if they don't use force, which that's some Thunderdome stuff right there if that were to happen. Which I'm not saying that's out of the question, but I'm thinking they can't lose the dollar to inflation before they go to the digital currency. Because if people lose faith in the dollar and they go, ta-da, we have this new digital fiat, which is exactly the same thing, I just don't think anybody's going to buy it. Or people just won't be as open to listening to what the government says about currency at that moment in time. They'd be a lot more apt to do it if the dollar hadn't fallen in value, for instance, and hadn't hyperinflated.
It's going to be really interesting to watch this come apart because when this happens, Bitcoin and precious metals and it is going to be going. I think it's going to be going parabolic, and then they're going to say, if you get caught with it, it's outlawed, it's not allowed here, and then it's going to come straight in. There's going to be so many buying opportunities and selling opportunities and buying opportunities. That's what it seems like. Because face it, the Bitcoin people and not so far, precious metals people are usually they're not quite like Bitcoin people. I won't talk about them too much, but it's just going to be interesting to watch all that unfold as the system's collapsing, because if they do the CBDC, that'll be a really easy way to hide inflation. It seems like. I don't know. It's hard. I think about it a lot. I just don't see how other countries. It still doesn't get us out of the hole with other countries. Sure. What are we going to trade them?
I agree. It's still a fiat currency on a blockchain, so it's exactly the same as the dollar, with some surveillance sprinkled in. So yeah,
is this CBDC's a blockchain?
Yeah, I mean it would be on a blockchain. Okay.
Yeah, right.
But blockchain is kind of like internet. Internet could be good or bad.
Yeah, right. It's not a cryptocurrency. It's a digital.
Yeah, I mean technically, yeah, it's a digital currency. It's a crypto. Crypto is kind of an all-encompassing term. People call Bitcoin crypto, and Ethereum and all these other crap coins. They're all very, very different.
Right. Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like calling something a website without giving more detail as to what that website does. Yeah, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and like you were saying earlier, there is no, especially as a Christian, we don't know. We're told not to live in fear, number one, and we don't know what the future holds. We do know what we're supposed to do: be good stewards, love other people, and I think warning them is part of that. You mentioned Bitcoin. I know you've talked about it before. I think you own some, if I'm not mistaken. What are your thoughts on it? And are usually gold people, like older folks that have owned gold and silver their whole life, and Bitcoin people, sometimes they don't cross-moginate? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't get it. It's like if you own gold, you hate crypto, and if you own crypto, you hate gold. It's really, really strange to me. I have no idea why people don't have both. It's really strange. Crypto to me is a speculation. It hasn't been here that long. It's starting. It's just starting its thing. Whatever, we don't know what it's going to do. But what we do know is all the governments are printing more money than they have anything to do with them. People like to buy things that go up.
Mm-hmm.
Dog coin, anything you can think of that goes up in price, people will FOMO into. When the government start doing that, where do you think they're going to go? They'll try to go to gold and silver, a lot of them, but there's only so much of that. Correct? I mean,
unless you count derivatives, which is why the price is suppressed. But
yeah, well, I'm talking about physical. I'm talking about, surely, if we're here, I hope we're not there, if you know what I mean. I hope we're not buying paper, gold, and silver at that juncture. But so when they run out of gold and silver, I'm thinking the miners are going to go ballistic. That's why I'm talking about gold miners and silver miners, the juniors. I think that is the next bubble. But as that's going on, Bitcoin might go to $500,000. That would be easy when that situation's playing out. Now, what is the government going to do there? What's the government going to do when that's happening? That's the reason why you have gold. You know what I'm saying? It's physical. It's here. It's in your wherever you keep it. But I own crypto for the asymmetric part of it. It's volatile, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like buying internet stocks 20 years ago. The .com bubble, same thing. It's going to go up, and when it comes back down, there's not going to be hardly that many left to choose from, I think.
Sure.
It'll be pretty narrow, and everybody will be scared of it because Coinbase will be belly up, and all these known names lost everything, and everybody be crying. And I'm going to be buying crypto then. and there people are going to be beating on me because I'm buying crypto, and I don't care because it's just obvious to me something's going to happen. We don't know exactly what, but outlawing all blockchain is going to be hard to do. Besides the CBDC. So that I don't know. That's the way I look at crypto. It's kind of a speculation. It's very wild to buy something at a penny and watch it to go to $1 or a 20 cents and go to $1. I mean, that's really strange to watch. And it's also strange to watch it go from $1 all the way back down to where you bought it from.
Or lower.
Yeah. So it's a speculation. If you that's weird. We had a meetup in Vegas, a couple of them, and there's a bunch of people that like to pull on a slot machine handle, but they won't even think about buying crypto. It's like, well, this is the new system. It could be. We don't know for sure, but it could be the new financial system is built on blockchain. CBDC and XRP could possibly move the CBDCs overseas for real cheap. I did a video on XRP a long time ago. I try not to talk about cryptos because I just look like another shill, but I really do believe there's something to it, and I can't help but speculate on it because I sleep better at night owning some of it, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I'd hate to be wrong. That'd be a rocket ship I'd hate to miss out on.
Have you ever read the book, The Bitcoin Standard?
Listen to it.
Yeah, the way I think of it, because I look at Bitcoin and then crypto slightly different, but you said you have a lot of hope for the future, and so do I. But so the future has to be built on something different. So if we just start from scratch and do the same thing over again, which by the way is a CBDC, we have a debt jubilee and the control of the levers of money is in the government's hands or central bank's hands, and they control the price of money. It's just the same system, repackaged. But separating money from the government and the cost of money from the government, I think, is key to this this issue that we're seeing today. I think a lot of the power that the government has, and especially in the United States, we've seen it grow astronomically in the last 20 years. And a lot of that's because they can buy votes from printing fiat. But if they had to, same thing with war too, if they had to tax their citizens, like everyone give me $20, we're going to World War II. Citizens think twice about what they're doing. And, I'm in the military, and I had my next door neighbor last summer come talk to me about Afghanistan because he didn't know we were still over there during the debacle at the plot. And that when you have a society that can forget that Americans are even at war, it's because it doesn't cost them anything. It's because it was printed and they never knew until inflation comes. And they realize all this money has been created out of nothing to fund wars, to fund politicians, to buy votes, all that kind of stuff. So when the new system comes, whatever it is, it has to be different. How do you have a system outside government control? And I'm a big fan of gold, but I wonder, we did gold. Why? That's why I don't think we're going back to a gold standard. Why did we come off a gold standard? Because human beings are greedy and they printed more dollars than they had gold. And I just don't see them ever not doing that again, ever being constrained by the gold because we're not going to be trading gold doubloons. Or gold pieces. No. So they're going to have to use something that's tied to the value of gold. And who's to say the government's not going to do the exact same thing they did before? What are your thoughts on that?
With using gold. What for backing? So you're saying, I thought you said they wouldn't go back to gold.
So what I'm saying is, let's say the dollar hyperinflates, and they say, okay, all right, we're going to a CBDC. The CBDC is backed by gold.
Okay.
What's to stop them from printing more CBDCs than gold that they have on the books, like they did with the dollar back in the...
Yeah, well, exactly. Nothing. Unless there was only so many CBDCs, like sure. Bitcoin. If there's a certain amount of CBDCs that backed up by this much gold, then you'd have something. But they're not ever going to have a currency that they cannot manipulate and print more of. Like you said, they've already done that.
Yeah, that's my case for Bitcoin, is that it's an open ledger. That's why I'm a fan of it, and why it's different than gold. Why I tell people to look into it, at least, is it's a ledger that the government can't control. Essentially, it would be like gold.
Yeah, but if they say they're going to cut your head off if you got it, well, how do you know they got it? I mean, I get all that.
Sure.
But when Bitcoin is, you can find out when it was spent, what wallet it goes back to. It's like the worst thing ever to use for crime.
I agree.
And you can find exactly where it goes. But there is only so much of it. Now, what would keep the powers that be from running the price down with fear and then buying all of it and creating a derivative?
That is my one question about Bitcoin. I listened to a podcast today with Lawrence Lepard, and he was talking about how gold price has been suppressed. There's $100 of paper gold for every, he was quoting this, there's $100 for paper gold for every $1 of real gold. So if you don't know what a derivative is, for those listening, I have one gold coin and I create 100 pieces of paper that have a claim on this one gold coin. And if they're just printing and saying they all own gold, but they don't. And
up to 300 people own the same ounce of gold.
Sure. And so
that's nuts.
Can they do that with Bitcoin? Potentially. I don't totally understand the whole derivatives market and how they're created and what the SEC has control over. But I know the government intentionally suppresses the price of gold because it's in their favor, because if the gold price went up, a lot more people would be dumping dollars for gold if it kept up with inflation every single time. And it was just...
Yeah, that's the canary in the coal mine, man. Gold price. They're going to do everything possible to keep it down, because if it ever gets out of the bag, it's going to be hell putting it back in there. That's what we're in. I mean, and it's obvious. They're getting fined right now. There's supposedly some heads are going to roll over the last time they spoofed it. JP Morgan spoofed it. Spoofing is just selling paper that says you own gold and you don't own it. You know, the big guys can do this, and they'll dump it on the market, and it drives the price down. And they've been caught doing it. Last time they got caught was $1 billion. But the problem is that's the right hand slapping the left. I mean, it's the same. You know, these big bankers are part of the big brother problem. They do their dirty work. So, you know, all this stuff comes out in the wash. You know, your sins will find you out. This stuff is going to rise to the top. And, you know, I don't know how bad it's going to get first, but there's just no way to not see that, I guess.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it was Henry Ford. I put a quote in one of my videos. He said something, I'm paraphrasing here, to the effect of this: if people understood the banking system in America, there'd be a riot in the streets tomorrow. And so, and this was back in the early 20th century. Yeah. And so it's been going on for a long time, and we're in the tail end of it where it's falling apart. And because it's falling apart and we're in so much debt, there's a lot of unpredictability to it when it comes to how the world's going to fall apart, because the world's been built on sand, fiat sand, and they keep trying to pin it up. But when the masses lose faith, it's over. So like you said, if the gold price goes through the roof, it goes through the roof for a reason. It's because people are running away from fiat. And right now they're running to another fiat, which is dollars. But what if that other fiat sucks too? Which it does. But it's the cleanest dirty shirt in the hamper, as they say. Couple more questions and I'll let you go. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, go ahead. I got a cool cup and handle on gold. I got a couple charts I can show you this.
Yeah.
It looks like it's about to pop. No, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. So as a guy who follows the news, I know you listen to financial news, and you can go on YouTube, listen to a guy like me or a guy like Chris, and you can hear all kinds of different things. And you mentioned shill earlier. what is your BS meter? When you listen to the news and you listen to what's going on around the world, how do you filter out in your own life what you listen to versus what you don't? If you hear two news stations saying the exact opposite thing, how do you filter out the truth for your own life?
I usually, if you hear something if you hear something three times, you need to really look at it and make up your own mind, come to your own convictions with what you know, and go kind of lean towards that. And if you're listening, I like to get a well-rounded view of the news. I like to listen to the hard left people, and they're usually saying the same thing. And I'm tell you the truth, the hard right news has really been kind of letting me down. The left really never ceases. They're just doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the conservative channels, just the legacy news, they're not. I don't think they're reporting like they should be. That's why there's a case for me and you actually to get real news out. But how do you filter through it? When you hear something, look it up and then go down that rabbit hole. But be careful for mole holes. Some of it's just garbage that you really have to filter through. How do you do that? I don't try to find, okay, figure something out. There's lots of smart people out there. Pick out a few of them and see what they have to say about that subject, and then talk about and go look at the links that they're talking about and do your own research out of what they're saying. Don't take anybody's word for it. Do your own freaking research. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times I get on here and I just do the news. I have no idea if that news is accurate. I quit talking about the war completely because there's so much propaganda coming from over there. You just don't know. I don't know. I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
So a news story comes out, I'll talk about it. I try not to say anything that I know is wrong, but sometimes, I've had people correct me and I have to go back and say, yeah, that's what the article said. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but you heard it from, JP Morgan said this. Well, go see exactly what they said and go see why they said it and go see, why it benefits them to say this. And that's how I make up my mind on what to believe and what not to believe.
Yeah, it's getting harder. If it's hard to know. Motivation really matters to me. It's like if you can report on something and I can tell that you're trying to get to the truth, but a lot of people you can kind of sniff them out and you're like, you're not even trying to get to the truth. This is an agenda. But I always tell people, go back to what's the profit motive for news. It's eyeballs. So they're gonna incite stuff all the time. One of the cool things I heard from George Gammon the other day when it comes to, let's say, global warming or any justice, equity, whatever it is, he said you can typically tell the person doesn't care about the issue itself, and they care more about power if there's no end goal in sight. We have climate. It's a good example. We have climate change. What do we need to do? End fossil fuels and all, but there's no goal. It's just the climate's changing and we need to make it not change. But it's not like it was kind of like with COVID, we need to lower the curve. That's why people bought in or flatten the curve. And then wait a second, this wasn't about flattening the curve, it was about something else. So when somebody presents a problem to you with no real solution, you got to wonder what their motivation is. I thought that was kind of interesting way of putting it.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Yeah.
Ginormous scam.
Right.
They've got the whole world talked into this cow farts. And, I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It's the biggest joke. It's like, it's hard for me to believe people are falling for it. I mean, don't do it. It's crazy. Don't think cows are killing the earth, man. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
I agree with you, but I think your average person, this is just what I think, doesn't care about anything politics until, like I said before, it hits their pocketbook. And now they're realizing, okay, gas is expensive because these people think cow farts, you're gonna do this thing, they want us to eat bugs. But sometimes, like in Europe, they've done so much damage to their energy system, and they're totally relying on Russia. And it was everyone's fine with it because they had oil still coming in, but now the average citizen who probably doesn't think about this stuff too much is you know awake to what's going on. And it brings up it because what this does when you break down the economy where your average person doesn't have to think about being a plumber and being the best plumber they can be or artist, whatever their job is. Now they have to be an economist too. Now they have to be an investor who's thinking 24/7 because the government has screwed things up so badly that they half their time is spent preserving their purchasing power, which is kind of sad and leads to less productivity. It's kind of a vicious cycle, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It's this ESG, environmental, social, and governance, heavy on the governance. It's working. That's the thing. Their plan has screwed Europe up, so it's irreversible, the damage they're doing. Those people are about to freeze their ass off. And not only does Russia cut off, they sanctioned Russia, and Russia said, well, we're not going to send you any fuel. Well, we just had, see, I'm in the natural gas business. I have been for a long time, fabricating pipe for these hookups. I'm a fabricator. And a lot of this natural gas gets shipped down to South Texas. And they have a liquefying plant there that liquefies the natural gas and sends it to Europe. Well, you can talk to the plant people and they say it didn't happen. But there's a lot of allegations that Russian cyber hackers attacked the plant and ruptured some pipes, and it burnt to the point where it's going to be at the end of this year coming back on. That's even less fuel that they're going to get over there. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. The Netherlands don't know what they're going to do for food and fuel. And they have, I mean, they're wiped out. And the problem is people aren't really seeing it yet because we're still eating last year's grain and burning last year's natural gas. This is a slow train wreck, and it's in slow motion, and the caboose is way back there, and it's off the tracks, and the engine's just ripping them down the rails. So we're looking at probably 23, sometime early 23, end of this year will kind of start. But here I am doing times. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm awful at times. But it seems like this is going to be later when it really starts to get, when you start to see people on TV and their bones are showing. It's going to make people sick to their stomach to watch how bad it's going to be over there. Mm-hmm. And I hope it doesn't. I hope all of a sudden the fertilizer is plentiful and they start growing crops and everything gets better. But it does not look like that right now at all. There's no light at the end of that tunnel yet. And I just don't.
Well, I hear you say that. And I know a lot of people, some people don't want to listen, but a lot of people hear that and like, no way, that would never happen because it's never happened in their lifetime in a Western country. But when you look at reality and you look at what's going on with fuel and how dependent they are on Russia and what's going on with grain storage and how much they have, you got to wonder, how is it not going to happen? And European politicians are making it worse and just piling on more ESG stuff. And that the thing I'm worried about is obviously that, but that leads to chaos, which leads to violence. Because when people are hungry, starving, can't heat their home, your average person has a lot less to lose.
That's how you get people to work at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you control the food, you control the people, period. Mm-hmm. Hunger something. Go back to the fitness thing. Like I was telling everybody, it's so hard to do. It's hard to be hungry. And you get somebody that's starving, they will do whatever. And that's the scary part. That's the Thunderdome that I mentioned.
And I hope, my prayer is, because I look back at history, and I don't think Hitler would be in power if it wasn't for hyperinflation. And it was the hyperinflation that caused the desperation, and the desperation caused people to get in it, whatever, just fix it. Anybody who comes along that wants to fix it, he offered to fix it, gave them somebody to blame. And so a lot of people look back at history and they go, how could they do that? And I look at it like, yeah, anyone, I always tell people that anyone's capable of that. Anyone is, given the right circumstance, especially
Yeah,
if you,
Jordan. I'm sorry, man. I was just
I
gonna.
was just going to say, especially if you don't think you're capable. The people who are most capable are the people who think they would never do it. You know what I mean?
Jordan Peterson laid that out really good. Did you ever listen to him talk about that?
I've read his book, 12 Rules for Life, and I've listened to him quite a few times. But yes, he talks about people kind of have this superhero view of themselves. Like, if I was there, I would have done something different. And I always question that, because, I mean, A, are you doing anything different today? Or are you going with the crowd, whatever, wherever the crowd's going? But B, would you do it, with a kid in tow, risk your life, all this kind of stuff? It's not typically when there's evil happening, everyone's going, like, if it's a country that's doing it, perpetrating it, it's like the thing to do. And a lot of people get their morals based off what society's trends are doing. So
Man, you're right there.
if society says, um, the same thing with slavery. If they're like half a human, or Jews aren't human at all, if it's the popular thing, morally speaking, is it going to really hit your conscience? I pray it would for me. I really do. But I always tell people, I teach, one of the things I do in the military is I teach propaganda for a living. I teach guys who are scenarios of if they were captured by the enemy. And one of the things I tell them is what they're capable of, like the evil they're capable of in captivity. And a lot of people think of themselves in a air conditioned room, well fed, well slept. But I've been in scenarios where people haven't eaten in days, haven't slept in days, and you see their true colors. Add to that some kind of physical coercion or reprisal or something. A lot of people are capable of a lot of nasty things, and it's thinking through that process. Like, what am I going to do? And it's kind of my message with preparedness too. It's like, if you can avoid it and help your neighbor, why wouldn't you want to? But
The scariest thing about that prepping in general is people aren't going to let their kids starve, and that's going to be where you see what you're talking about come out, I'm afraid. I think when people's kids are starving to death, and I hope we never see it. Don't get me wrong. I hope we never, ever experience that. But I think other countries will see it first. I think they'll do whatever to make sure little Johnny gets a meal. And I actually had somebody at my church. This really took me back. I had to step back and think about it. I was telling about precious metals, and, we were talking about inflation. And I said, you do anything to prepare? He said, yeah, I'm into metals. I said, really? I said, yeah, lead. It's like, okay, you can trade ammo. That's cool.
yeah,
No, I'll just take whatever I want.
yeah,
That's what he told me. And I'll take him at his word. That's what he's got on his mind.
yeah.
So, yeah, there's nothing happy about prepping in the Thunderdome. It's not going to be any blissful moments. It's going to be really, really different. I just hope it's a long ways off. And I hope it's really short, like a few days.
I hope we build a parallel. My hope is we build a parallel system to some degree, get enough people awake that when the dollar collapses, it's not people are holding piles of dollars and nothing else. Because if they're holding something else, then the transition's a lot smoother than if all they got is worthless piece of paper. Because that's what happened in Weimar, Germany. There's lighting the fires with the fiat.
Sure. I have not put any dollars on my gym wall. I haven't put any paper or paint or anything on my gym wall. I built a gym. I'm going to paper it with $100 bills. I'm going to wall my whole gym in with $100 bills. And I'm going to start doing videos in there. Say, I told you guys. I'm trying to tell you, listen. But
Yeah. I was looking on eBay the other day for one of those Zimbabwe, I think it's a 1 trillion or $100 trillion bill. Um and yeah, I mean my
did you
hope
find them?
yeah, I did. Yeah. They sell them on like Etsy and eBay. They're
How
like
much are they?
$20. Some of them $10. But
Wow.
it's kind of interesting. You can get Weimar certificates too from when Germany hyperinflated. You can get Venezuelan Bolivar. Kind of interesting to me because that's one way I like to tell people. It's like the richest people in the world are people in Zimbabwe, because
Sure.
that's how people think about wealth in America.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
the wealth effect. Yeah, it's the rich in their 401k and the rich in this, and usually the same people owe everybody. You notice that? And
yeah.
I got a question for you. Have you
Sure.
heard of the richest man in Germany? I know you have.
Richest Man, the book.
The richest man in Germany. No,
Mm-mm.
you're talking about richest man in Babylon,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I thought you said.
After the Weimar inflation, I think about this quite often too. Uh, there was a lot of wealthy people made out of that because one of the guys, I cannot think of his name right now, but I will in a minute. He bought shipyards and all kind of industrial complexes. He bought everything and leveraged himself out to the hilt as this was happening. And afterwards, when it was over, he was the richest man in Germany.
Hmm. Nazis didn't take it from him.
I guess not.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that
Well, the Nazi, that was after the war, right?
Weimar, no, Weimar was
No,
in
it was before.
yeah, late 20s, early 30s, I think.
I'll go back. I'll get the story. We'll do a story on that. That'll be
Yeah,
good one to do.
yeah,
Yeah, because Hitler came to power after the
after
hyperinflation.
hyperinflation. Yeah, yeah, that's what one of the things that why history is interesting to me is I look at people back then as the same. They're the same as me, right? You're human beings. They're
Sure.
sinful just like everybody else. And a lot of people look at history as if they are different, and the outcome would be different today. And unfortunately, that's not the case. We're capable of all kinds of evil, um, which is sad. So, one last question before I let you go. So you have um, kids, if I'm not mistaken. I think I
No,
got
I don't have kids.
you don't have kids, no? Okay.
Mm.
Um, the better life or the hope that you have that you want to or create a better system after this fiat, right? This crash. Is there any message of hope that you give people as far as here? Because in my opinion, just give you context. We're slowly seeing the 1% gain more and more wealth. And in my opinion, I know a lot of people who are just hard workers. They want to go to work, collect a paycheck, and they look at it, the harder they work, the more money they'll get. And in the fiat world, that's slowly getting chipped away through inflation and through government spending and all that kind of stuff. And kind of what I would like to tell them is there's a better system out there. Where it causes deflation and everything becomes cheaper and your work rewards you that much more. Is that is that something you think you'll see in your lifetime after
I
this?
think, well, what I usually tell people, and I'll finish with that, but I usually tell people in the present right now, if you can miss being part of the problem, you'll have the opportunity to be part of the solution.
Hmm.
So if you can hedge yourself now, watch what's coming and do your due diligence and pay attention to everything that's coming, you'll have an opportunity to be a part of the solution. If you're a part of the solution, you're going to, there's no telling. I mean, things are changing. Wealth doesn't just go away, it just moves.
Exactly.
And it could be the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. And the last part, I guess I don't know if we're going to be in the Thunderdome this time or the next time, but if we can, like I said before, if we can be a part of the solution, we don't have to be a part of the problem, and that's I don't know another way to say it. That's about all I got. I don't know. I don't know what kind of rosy ending there is. What is it? What's the? I think we're in end days, man.
Really?
I really do. I think we're in the end, and we can take advantage of it and have enough wealth to hopefully help people. But that comes back to giving money away. There's a lot of people think you should just give your money away. That never works. People will come back to the source. You've got to create jobs. You've got to have enough wealth to create industry and have people working and generating and growing, and they're investing. And it's kind of like starting over. It's going to be a lot different with AI involved, but that's kind of the rosiest picture I can paint, is have enough wealth as we get through this. Investing in really hard times should really produce some really cool yields. And on the other side, hopefully we can get this machine running again and start planting again and farming and all the other stuff that we're supposed to be doing on a mass scale. Because I don't plan on eating bugs or anything like that.
I've had a cricket or two in my military days. They're not that good.
Did you?
Yeah.
Overseas?
Yeah. Well, I'm what's called a SEER instructor. I'll email you a YouTube video of what we do, but we survive outside a lot and we have to eat bugs. And,
Really? I need to interview you about that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, we basically, so every when pilots eject or crash in a foreign country, we teach them everything from parachuting to surviving on the ground to getting back home. They get captured. If they get interrogated, that's the propaganda stuff I was talking about. If they get interrogated, how to avoid giving information they shouldn't. It's been a fun gig. It's just it's interesting being in the military these days. That's
How many calories do you get out of a cricket?
Not enough. I mean, pound for pound. So that's what we tell people. Same thing with ants. Pound for pound, you get more protein than beef, but try getting a pound of ants. The grossest thing I ever ate, I'll have to send you a video of this. It's called a banana slug, and they're up in Washington State, and they secrete, when you start chewing them, you secrete this like super glue peanut butter mixture, and so when you swallow it, just kind of hangs out here in the gag reflex area, and it makes you want to vomit. There's zero nutritional value.
You're making me want to vomit now.
Yeah,
it's like somebody hocked a loogie in your mouth.
That's exactly what it's like. And yeah, it was kind of more of a, I don't know, a hazing thing. There's zero nutritional value to them. They're absolutely disgusting.
It didn't taste like a banana at all?
No, they're about half the size of a banana. I don't know why they call them banana slugs, but they are.
How big are they?
They're about that big.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's like eating something, not just a quick slug you can get down.
Right. Oh no, I'm getting the shivers just thinking about it. It's
Fear Factor. That'd be a good show. You should get some of this. Some of your buddies eating that crap on camera.
Well, yeah, I always tell people because I camp for a living. I spend a lot of time outside teaching this stuff, and like I always want to live in luxury when I'm outside because I'm like, I've suffered enough during training. Why suffer anymore? So the whole bug thing, I'm like, if I was desperate enough. But yeah, if you ever had me on for teaching that kind of stuff, we teach mainly, think of if you're camping and you just had a knife. I'm pretty good at getting people to keep their core temperature up, what kind of clothes to wear, how to build a shelter. And the main thing I like to tell people is like, what is in, if you had a bag, what would I want in there to survive the night if it was like freezing cold outside? That's what I like to tell civilians, at least. So
Awesome. Yeah, I want to do that.
yeah,
Let's do it this week.
yeah. Anytime you just let me know. I'd be happy to do it. I'll email you. Um, I look a lot different. I was a lot thinner back then, but I'll email you that video of me eating a banana slug. I'm sure you'll find it quite hilarious.
I will.
Yeah, I'll have to post it on my YouTube after I post this video. I'm sure people will want to see it.
Yeah, you should do that. That's going to get way more clicks than talking about the economy.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time.